43rd Interactive CISO Roundtable episode or roundtable, whatever you want to call it. And we started back in June 2022. Idea was, create a community. This was just kind of, after COVID, year after, to see that we can create an interactive community without being physically present. So we've been doing it, and we've invited every time we invite two CISOs or who've been in that role, and then one technology, founder or someone with that background to come and kind of have a good discussion on what's going on in the latest trends. And then also, obviously, a lot of other CISOs and executives who are here, they join in. And so we made it a nice community of just discussing on the topics. And so we make it interactive in the sense that not only panelists, but we also allow the audience to provide their insights from their experiences, what's going on right now. That's how we go about it. And so generally, we start with one basic theme first in the beginning. It's just the role of chief information security officers, how it has evolved over the last 5-10 years, and where it's going, because very dynamically everything is changing so fast. Even within last 1 year, it just seems like we are always behind. So that's one topic. Second, we'll talk about these agents, and we have Makrand here. He's doing some very interesting things with his company, and I think that'll be very useful for the audience as well. So we'll delve into that a lot related to the whole this infrastructure as well as agent space. And then third is about innovations and solutions, and we kind of let the discussion just evolve, and so we can have a fun time for next one hour or 50 minutes left now. So with that, my name is Naveen Bisht, and I'm founder of AKITRA. And so I've been in the cybersecurity and compliance area for over 20 plus years. This is my fourth startup here. For last 10 years, we've been doing it. So that's my background. And then we have Partha, who's joining from Becky's, Parthasarathi Chakraborty. So Partha brings a lot of experience in in the security engineering infrastructure area. Right now he's at Broadridge. So Partha, it will be great if you can elaborate a little bit on your experience, and appreciate you joining it. I know it's here almost bedtime.
Sure, I
But being
mean,
awake.
no, like believe me or not, I started working after getting a call last night, 8 p.m. Eastern, and in between I got 3 hours sleep. The life of
Okay.
a security people, it continued almost 24 hours for many of us. But that's okay. I will definitely have a good sleep. So, real quick about me, Partha Chakraborty. Currently, I am the VP and Global Head of Security Engineering, and also I have a dual hat. I am responsible for all critical infrastructure services, engineering, and operations for globally for Broadridge. Broadridge, for many of you who don't know, we are a fintech company, and we are an S&P 500. 17,000 employees. We operate out of 27 countries and a big presence out of India, where we have our GCC. Prior to joining Broadridge, I was the deputy CISO at French investment bank Natixis, which is part of the Fortune 39 European bank group PPCE. And before that, I worked all my career in Wall Street, Bank of America, JP Morgan, Bank of Montreal, and had a stint for 6 years in health insurance company Humana. So yeah, that's all about me. I mean, overall, I have close to 30 years of experience in technology. Started with networking, and now in security for last 20-25 years.
Thank you, Partha. Appreciate your good intro. And then we have Anoop. Anoop is CISO at an AI company called Jiffy, brings tons of experience. So I'll let Anoop talk about his wonderful experience.
Thanks, Naveen. I'm Anoop, CISO at Jiffy. Also, I head the cloud, engineering of Jiffy. Jiffy is we build AI automation infrastructure for tier 1 banks, wealth management firms, and insurers across the globe. And what makes my perspective different is we practice AI. We have all these AI agents in our production infrastructure, so we practice it on a regular basis. So apart from that, like we are also doing the ISO 42001 for the AI security. So that process is going on. So that's all about me. So I have around 25 years of experience in security and cloud and all. That's what it is. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Anoop. Appreciate it. And also, by the way, getting up early. Anoop is joining from the beautiful southern part of India, Kerala area. So thank you. And then we have Makrand here. Makrand is founder of a company called Cloudexe, and he's again brings tons of experience in engineering, entrepreneurship. Earlier, he was vice president at Intel. So I'll let Makrand talk about his background for the audience.
Yeah, hi. So I'm Makrand, based in the Bay Area for 30 years almost now. Bulk of it spent in core tech, in the GPU and cloud space. Several years at NVIDIA, where I shipped the very first CUDA GPU almost 20 years ago now. And then stints at Google and Intel, at the intersection of hardware, systems, cloud, high performance networking, stuff like that. Did one startup before this that was acquired by Google, and that became the Google Stadia cloud gaming platform almost 15 years ago now, 12 years ago, something like that. And now building another company in the similar domain where the AI GPU infrastructure, but not for pixels, for AI workloads, and seeing how that really fits into the complexities of cloud, fintech, security, agents. Like, it's just a massive and very fast evolving space, and very interesting discussion on what's possible about how that affects what infrastructure design can do differently. So I'm very interested and curious to hear from you guys and also contribute my experience in that domain.
Thank you, Makrand. Really appreciate it. So let's get started. So first, let me just quickly run over our one typical question of, since it's a CISO roundtable, how you feel the CISO community or the CISO role has evolved. So maybe I'd like to have Partha kind of, I know you're, even though you're running into you're doing security engineering, but you've been also a CISO in the past. So you've seen a lot of changes, ups and downs, and as well as, a lot of interesting news as well around that role. So
Yes. I would say like CISO has been going through some sort of a roller coaster ride. Like if you look at late 90s when the CISO thing came in, somebody from network or infrastructure eventually will be given the role, hey, you manage a firewall and antivirus, that's your life and that's it. Nothing else needs to be done, and just make sure like the perimeter and some of the endpoints are protected. So somebody coming from a little bit of networking systems background with a people management skill and leadership and business understanding could do that job. Then came in the wave of all the regulations, like be it HIPAA or GDPR or even like payment card industries, like those things became like very strong. And someone who is not knowledgeable on the regulations and compliance and the policies, we're not considered to be a good fit for a CISO role. So at that point of time, CISOs were thought to be someone who are like a legal compliance, not even the privacy term did not come that time, but legal and compliance and the regulations experts or gurus. Then again, it started evolving because the hacking attempts and the smart technology exploits have started coming up, and it was deemed that knowing regulation is not good enough. CISO needs to be a unicorn, like knowing a little bit of technology, a little bit of compliance and regulation. Now, fast forward, if I look at today's world with AI and the cloud and all the next gen thing, we talk about the PQC and everything is not distant away from us. Looking into the CISO role, like CISOs usually in a big corporate environment, like the IANS research says that the tenure is like 30 months or even 32 months or even less than that. But even during that time, CISOs are supposed to bring transformation. And the transformation is having the understanding of business properly, what is important for business. So selling the security and the risk in terms of a business risk and impact, that is the most important role of a CISO, because without getting buy-in in big corporates, making a change is next to impossible. So CISO role in today's environment, in order to be a successful CISO, understanding what is important for business, relating the actual threat in terms of the business impact, opposed to chasing each and everything, which is just unmanageable, right? Nobody can chase every vulnerability in the environment. That is pre-Mythos and all the Hugging Face and AI, OpenAI conversation came in. Like I'm talking about the pre-days. You cannot chase all the vulnerabilities. So basically make sure what is relevant for your business. And then the second thing is that like CISO's main role is run the business, which is stabilize the environment, and then also simplify the environment, which is making sure like the process, tool sprawl, business, like an ownership, chaos and gaps you simplify and then transform. So a modern CISO, in order to be successful, like I call it like SST, simplify, stabilize, and transform, and having a good bit of knowledge on technology so that they are not just the regulations expert, but with a mix of regulation and business understanding is something is needed for the CISO role.
Thank you, Partha. How about Anoop? You've seen a lot of changes and you've been in that role for a while. So it'd be great to hear from your perspective.
Thanks, Naveen. So,
excuse me.
What I feel is now in the last couple of years, because we have covered most of the points now. So what from my perspective, the last couple of years, what changed is everything is the development and the change is happening in machine speed. So the governance also should happen in the machine speed is what I felt. So in previously, like it is something like build the thing and then bring it to the security review. But now it is more of a continuous governance architecture or continuous governance model, where you shift the governance requirement upstream to the point where the agents are being built. Or the so the security governance is also taken care to an extent by the agents, but with a manual review or manual control on that. So the security constraints and compliance rules and the oversight requirements are encoded into the delivery or the deployment platform. So that's what we practice here in Jiffy. So that's the major change which I have seen in the last few years. So yeah, then yeah, as you rightly mentioned, like it's a roller coaster right now. Yeah. So and another point which I which came to my mind now is like, governance has to start with visibility. So that's the fundamental of governance. So now getting visibility to all the AI models or all we build, it has become a challenge now. So that is something like bringing into the delivery model is not easy, but that's something which we are trying to wire between all the respective components here. That's all from my side.
Thank you, Anoop. So Makrand, I know you've been on a different role, so but I mean, if you'd like to chime in and what you have seen, if you've since you also interact with.
I very much like to chime in, not because of what I've seen, but what I would like to see.
Right?
Okay. Because the tech we're building and the products we're building, the path does go through CISO very much, and this term CISO, I think, encompasses a lot of different domains and expertise, and and it changes from industry to industry. But I liked the way Partha said it, in the sense that its the job is to bring transformation, right? If that's the way you think about the job, then everything else lines up underneath, in my opinion. And then that is well beyond just security or kind of getting in the way, right? It's like proactively pulling technologies, understanding the impact, educating internal stakeholders about what it actually means, and the relative severity. Like, you're not going to cover all of it all the time, so the trade-offs that you make matter. So I think CISO is, to an extent, even more kind of the most important role in this AI transformation, in my opinion.
Also, if I can add like one more thing, that what I started seeing is that the CISO role, because we are asking an all-rounder, not only an all-rounder, like somebody is expert in all the domains, which is just impossible humanly, right? Somebody cannot know all the regulations, cannot know all the technologies, cannot have the empathy and the leadership and the business understanding, everything in one person, right? It's difficult. So I started seeing like the CISO role is evolving. It is getting split into two things. One is business, board facing, and transformative ideas, like driving the organization, moving the agenda forward, that in order for the business next 5 years, this is the revenue goal, and in order to get it, this is the transformation journey happening, and if I need to enable you through that, my organization, security organization, has to move at AI speed. So he is coming up with the idea, getting the buy-in and selling those things, and eventually getting the like the support behind it. But if you do that, you're, again, like for me, it's like stabilize, simplify, and transform. Who is going to stabilize your thing? You are running with like 500,000 of vulnerabilities in your environment. If you're in medical industry, I was there in Humana. If you have like IOMT or any other medical gear, knowing there is a vulnerability, you cannot touch it because FDI certification is the 36-month process. So even we go to the hospital, we trust our life, and there is an MRI machine, it could be running on known vulnerability, but nobody can touch it, because if you touch it, you cannot use it till FDI clears it, FDA, and it will be 36-month process. So you create like virtual patching, compensating control, and all. So CISO cannot do transform on one side and run the business. So in order to run the business, the role of deputy CISO is also evolving. In most of the big organization, you will see deputy CISO or head of engineering and architecture kind of thing. That person is chartered with the role of keeping the shop running, technology, automation, efficiency, and all those stuff. And CISO is basically telling, okay, this is where I need to go. So this is also another pattern evolving, mostly in larger organizations. But like when I work in JP Morgan still has like CISO and deputy CISO concept. But if you come to a smaller shop, like less than 5,000 people, there is no luxury. Like CISO is like, okay, like building it to patching vulnerability to selling idea, everything. So that is another thing which is predominantly I'm seeing the importance of deputy CISO role getting more as AI and transformational journeys are continuing.
Yeah, thank you, Partha. So I'd like to just open it to like in the audience. I know I see Randy is here. Randy has been also a veteran CISO, and then of course, he's been has been a panelist for many few times. And so, Randy, maybe you want to provide your insight, will be great, and other questions or anything else you want to ask.
Sure, thank you. So Randy Barr, been in the IT space for close to 30 years. 25 years of that has been in security. Started out my CISO career early 2000 at Cloudexe, Cisco, Qualys, worked at Zoom and a few other companies. When I started out, thicknet cabling was a thing. That's how I got into my IT career. Eventually bought my first US robotics 14.4, which I thought was the fastest thing in the world. Eventually learned a little bit more from that, from AS400, Windows for Workgroup, Novell, each of those with certifications. And each of those, we had time. We had time to learn. We had time to figure it out. We had time to test. Then the application service providers of the world started coming into play. And as a security person, that's when we started looking at reaching out to communities. Security communities started building around that time, early 2000, and even before that. But security CISOs was not, there was very, very few of those people that I think were called CISOs at the time, if I'm not mistaken. Eventually, 10 years later, cloud started to be being adopted, and that's where I started noticing where risk started to be more of a, we have to accept some of this risk when we start implementing some of these solutions. And during that time, the technical to business started to blend in the CISO world. And we had to learn a little bit more about how to be able to build a security program while making sure that we're innovative and that we are not saying no to just about everything that we see. And now, as somebody mentioned, we're working at machine speed these days. With AI, it's an interesting world. We have to be constantly learning what's going on. We have to stay in touch with what's being impacted. The OpenAI Hugging Face, just a more recent one that is an interesting thing to see, but it was supported by many research from before and also other events. Other research like Agents of Chaos research paper, which is really, really good. So I think in this day and age, the need to learn, need to stay ahead of what's going on and trying to reach out to the community a little bit more to understand what other people are doing to address some of these threats is much more important than ever before. So we're seeing a lot more engagement, a lot more communication, a lot more sharing in the CISO communities.
Thank you. Thank you, Randy. I appreciate your insights.
Sure.
Let's move into the next, unless someone else in the audience wants to. I know we have Hemant here also. He's, head of GRC at Digital Turbine. Hemant, would you like to say something? I know you're on mute. If you want to provide your experiences or, okay. So let's just move on to the next topic, which is more, I think what I would like to do is in this one is, Makrand has been like with his new company, as far as I understand, of course, he's our customer also, is focused a lot into this whole GPU infrastructure, access capacity, as well as some of the new stuff. I mean, I'll let him talk whatever he wants to share. To provide your insights about this whole, the AI infrastructure, as well as how you see this role of agents more from the perspective of the security and these guys going rogue or whatever you want to call it, right? I mean, we've seen some recently number of incidents also in that arena.
Sure.
Maybe you can. Sorry. Before, maybe you can give a little quick, very light weight, like for folks, let's say, like us who don't understand that side very well. So to just provide a little background will be great on the, on the industry landscape. I think that'll be very helpful.
I'll give a bit of background as to what we are doing and the problem we're looking to solve and how that ties into the agent landscape as it's evolving. I didn't have any, organized thoughts, so I'm going to say all kinds of, I'm going to think aloud a little bit. So we are building a inference platform with the twist that it lives inside your VPC, and none of your data will ever be written out to any other disk or media outside your security perimeter. And this ties right into the the security discussion. You might have read this post by Satya Nadella that came out a couple of weeks ago about reverse information paradox, like how much you can figure out about somebody's business by not even looking into their prompts, by just observing what's going on, even without saving their data or storing their stuff. Couple that with the companies who are working in this space are startups themselves, may not be as mature as JP Morgan's backend infrastructure, and the rate at which we are all moving. You put all this together, it's a bit of a scary situation. And I'm not even a CISO, right? But I can, just having seen what I've seen, it scares me a little bit, right? So that was the genesis for our product, and we call it Pythos. The idea of Pythos is basically to give complete watertight control to the customer so that no data, no prompts, no telemetry, nothing leaks out for anyone to learn anything out of it. That's what we do. All right. So that's about us. Now about agents. Another reason why why we're doing this, and again it ties into the CISO discussion here, is that the rate at which these things are moving is so fast. Up until last year, there was you typed a prompt in and you got a response back. It was like a one-to-one connection. Everything was fine. And now, you went into RAGs. So now you typed a prompt in and now we had a whole bunch of, downstream accesses. Even that was not so great, but it was within the tolerable limits. But now you have agents calling sub-agents, and a whole tree of requests fan out of something trivial that you're doing. And you kind of have no idea really how granular those permissions are and how, who's doing what. So that's kind of one side of the problem. The other side of the problem is that this amount of tokens you're consuming while doing it is is huge. It's like 100x of what it used to be just even a year ago. So one rogue agent, one bad call can now suddenly cost you. It can cost you security. It can cost you real money. It can cost you lost users. All kinds of bad things. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to come and join this thing, is because I want to see from Partha and Anoop's perspective how they see this. Do they see it the way we are seeing it? Are we more scared than they are? Or is it the other way around? So I'll just shut up for a second here now. But I'm curious.
I'll let Anoop go first, please, and then I'll share what I'm saying.
So, yeah, that's a real problem and it's a real challenge because now if you look at a modern application, so in our latest platforms and all, agents, they're everywhere. Giving access to agents or setting the boundaries for agents, what kind of access and how much of data has to be disclosed and all is a challenge. And also prompt engineering becoming, so there are guardrails, there are, there are solutions available, but data leakage is a major challenge. Also, the access control for the agents has become a major challenge. We are managing it, in my organization, we are managing it. We have tight audit controls and all, but definitely, yes, that's a valid point. There are challenges around it.
Yeah, and from my perspective, right, currently I work in a fintech company. Broadridge is a fintech company, so we are heavily invested. So we have like both, like we have a heavy mainframe footprint, at the same time, a huge AI adoption. And Broadridge is one of the promoter for blockchain and the tokenized asset. So on AI and blockchain and mainframe, all combinations. And in order to deliver all of the customers' need at the speed they're expecting, there is no other option than adopting AI for efficiency and agility. The challenge that we have on data leakage, did it not exist 15 years, 20 years ago? It existed there then as well. If you can imagine, no organization has the luxury to build something in greenfield. It is a hybrid environment, always brownfield to greenfield, be it the JPs of the world or be it the Broadridge, right? 17-year-old company of the world. So sorry, I thought somebody was asking anything. But the problem is that in that kind of an environment, the biggest complexity is the fear of unknown. Yeah. I want to make a change. I see there is something potentially bad. Do I get the alignment and support to make a change? 90% of the cases, no. What if it causes a business impact? At the end of the day, we exist here to support business. Now, the issue of data leakage existed before, and it is like a cannibalism right now. In order to move fast, in order to deliver what we want to implement AI, we want to go to agentic route. Nothing is foolproof. There are issues, there are challenges, taking things out of control. The mission is not validated. Intent is a question, right? What the agent is interpreting what it is supposed to do versus what we think it needs to do. There needs to be a validation. In order to do that validation, we need to bring another AI layer into play. But the bottom line is that the data leakage pain was there in the past. Now, with the fast pace of adoption of AI, the risk has been multiplied exponentially, right? Right now, we don't talk about something has increased by 20%. Rather, the multiplication factor is X. We talk about 15X or 20X more than what it used to be in the past. So to answer your question, Makrand, so yes, it is scary, but it is a necessary evil, right? So it's like, in order to survive in this industry, we have to adopt it. We have to take calculated risk. We have to make sure like we can do checks and balances, human in the loop, all the right things we do. But at the same time, can we have, I like your word, watertight security? Can we ensure a watertight security? Technology can probably do, but when you overlay the business complexities and unknowns of the world, can it be done? I have questions on it. So we have to have that checks and balance in the play always. and move on. Like, it's not about like getting scared of it and not taking a step. That will basically keep the organization completely disrupted by innovators.
Actually, so I'm just going to finish and then we'll just listen. So I'm really glad to hear that from you, by the way, because I've met so many now who are frozen solid that they're not doing anything until the situation resolves. It's very good to hear from you that, look, we accept the risk and we have to live with it and we'll mitigate that. That's great. But just to going back to the point I was making about the water security, there are a couple of interesting technologies that are just coming into play just now. One of them is confidential compute.
Mhm.
And that actually changes. There's just the way, I mean, what confidential compute is what, let's say, SSL was to HTTPS, right? Before HTTP was encrypted, there was nothing, and now SSL came, and then a whole bunch of commerce was enabled because of that layer. That's the kind of impact the confidential compute is going to have, in my opinion, and that allows you to maybe recover some of your sleep. That's the bet we are taking, and we have good, strong pull from interesting customers. Some of them are the ones that you mentioned in that area. I'm happy to talk more about this, but I'll stop here for a second.
So just to add to that, Makrand, I think it'll be good for you to define, if you can define what does confidential compute mean from your perspective for the,
Yeah.
the audience here right now. Will be good.
Yeah, it's a tricky concept, by the way. It took me quite a bit of time, and I live and breathe this stuff. But to be clear, so there are a couple of technologies, and they combine together to give you cryptographic guarantees about what's happening underneath, right? The first is called encrypted virtualization. AMD has like SEV, secure encrypted virtualization. Intel has TDX. Amazon has the Nitro enclaves. What that is basically is saying that certain virtual machines that are running on a host cannot be broken into, even by a malicious host. So you could be, a super user on the host machine. You could have physical access. You could do whatever you want to do, but the CPU itself protects the contents of a memory area. That's the secure virtualization. And there's a companion tech called attestation, where the CPU cryptographically guarantees that the checksum of what's running in the processes that are running. So between those two things, you can be now pretty sure that your reference setup is the exact same setup that's running remotely, and a malicious host is not going to be able to get into your workload. And that opens up the aperture quite wide now. So now we can go to, you can source compute from players that you wouldn't have touched earlier, right? Because now you don't need to depend upon their processes. You don't need to, validate that they have, lock on the data center door, right? You are guaranteed cryptographically. So that's what this tech can enable. And it covers CPU. It used to cover CPU up until recently. Even GPUs also now became part of it, starting from NVIDIA Hopper generation. Even the GPUs will keep the GPU VRAM cryptographically isolated and attested.
Thank you. So just to kind of go on the topic, one is next, I wanted to just ask one question is, if you look at, I think, Partha, you might have more because of the size of your company, you may be seeing that across a number of customers or internally in the team. So seems like a lot of business teams want to deploy these agents faster because you understand at a high level, right, what this can do, whether in reality that happens or not, whether it can solve those problems properly. But so how does a governance model look like without, it becoming a bottleneck from your perspective?
What we are trying to do is that if we are deploying a ton of agent, which we're doing, by the way, even for security, my security operations, we are looking into and doing a lot of agentic thing, right? Security operations or even architecture reviews, engineering. Some of the jobs are completely, I would call it like an AI outsourced, like governance, risk, and compliance. 80% is running on AI-enabled tooling, right? So what we realize is that we need to have checks and balances. Governance is definitely important. But if we are trying to put a checkpoint, which is moving at a human speed, and we are trying to basically do an inspection of a train moving at 500 kilometers an hour, which is the inspection is useless. Like you'll not be able to detect anything. So in order to put the right checks and balances and the governance, we are also riding on AI. So it's basically, as I said, like it's like a sort of a cannibalism. Sometimes you have to trust something and you are basically layering it up. You are trusting on something where the foundation is untrusted. And when you layer it up, you are thinking about, okay, in between something like a defense in depth or trust in depth, whatever you call, will detect it. So we are implementing the checks and balances, all the rules. I mean, we are not letting AI to do 100% of the rules. There are some last resort kind of a thing. When we define firewall rule, proxy rule, and all, right, at the end, allow this and then eventually block something. There are something humanly we are defining, no matter what happens, even if an agent basically allows these kind of activities. If I see something like this, I'm going to block it. This is a forceful insertion of a rule, which is humanly given on top of AI, right? In a layman approach, like I will not allow any 0000 in a firewall, or I will not allow any port insecure. So the last round, so nothing catastrophic happens. So those are the things that we are defining as the foundation of those. And on top of it, using AI to basically do the faster checks and validation and reporting and visibility for all the agents and that we are deploying for a lot of our business applications, including the security things that we are doing, like the security engineering deployment. We are using a lot of MCP and security and MCP gateway and all those stuff because just to give an example, Broadridge is a company which grown up by acquiring 67 smaller companies in 17 years. So if you can think about 67 companies coming in, you can think about on average, each company brings in like 10 firewalls. So think about it. Even when I was in Bank of America, it did not have more than 300 firewalls or even much less than that. Now, Broadridge as a company, if you acquire 67 companies, so starting from Barracuda to SonicWall to Palo Altos and Checkpoint, Juniper, we don't discriminate any vendor. So we have every product available in the market that's there. And at the same time, on average, if you bring like 10 firewalls, then you will have like 600 firewalls to manage. How do you manage it? Humanly, you cannot manage. Our security team is only 100 people globally, right? Not more than that. So it's all riding on AI, MCP, and automation, homegrown, and the commercial. That's what we're using. Governance is also no difference than that. The only thing we are doing is that on top of that AI-driven governance, we are putting some last resort human rule. No matter what happens, this is going to be blocked. We are not allowing this action.
Got it. Thank you. Anoop, I think since you also work with a lot of, large financial customers, how are you seeing the role of governance when your teams want to deploy all these agentic workflows and other AI systems?
Yeah, it's, I completely agree with what Partha mentioned. So apart from that, what we ensure is like the access for these AI agents. We have some mechanism called just-in-time access. So these agents will get access to the resources, whatever it is, whether it's a database or a file system or whatever. So or an API. So these access will be just-in-time access, and it will be only for that particular workflow or that particular session. So the moment the task is over, that access will be revoked. So that is something which we are practicing, which is giving us some extra value in terms of security. But otherwise, so the way the agents are getting deployed, or it's quite fast. So we are also using for governance or for security or even to security log monitoring and all. Again, we are riding on on AI agents. So it's the same practice. We are using AI to a larger extent, but we are trying to ensure that there are checks and balances in place. Also, there is human in the loop. We are ensuring that for any change which is going in, there is human overlook. So that's what we practice. But so far, we are able to cope up with the speed and not much of security issues. That's what I have seen. So that's it.
Okay, thank you. I would like to, ask, Randy, or I know we have here, Manish. I know you've been doing a lot of stuff in the whole MCP and other areas. What is your, um, what have you from working with your customers, like in terms of the governance model they are kind of dictating to you or otherwise?
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to repeat what Anoop said. The human in the loop is going away. Just the machine speed of agents is just so fast right now that folks want to have that to be a little more autonomous and only surface some exceptional situations. So, do you want to be improving every single agentic call? That's not going to happen anymore. It's now moved towards if this contextual situation happens, only based on that, I want somebody to be notified. And the old world of ServiceNow approvals, those are too slow. You have to move to where the work is right now. So seeing a proliferation of Slack agents, like I feel, having this show up as unique entities in Slack itself, where you can approve actions, get the entire context, and then monitor the process of your agents from that single inbox. I think that is something which we're seeing a lot more. So yeah, absolutely, we're getting more autonomous. We want to get humans out of the way. We cannot keep up with them mentally. It's just absolutely exhausting. So you need to weed out all the noise and surface a signal. Those approvals are going to become very important. And I think those checks and balances need to be in place.
Thank you, Manish. Anyone else wants to add? Randy? Yeah, looks like.
Yeah, I'd like to add. So, AI governance is an important thing, and there's 4 different areas that I always like to talk to people about. One is you got to know every agent and every data it touches, and you really can't govern what you cannot see. So that's very important. And with the agents, you need to treat it as a persona. You need to assign it only the access that it needs to have access to. You need to limit and cap that as much as possible. Then you want to automate the enforcement so that the team can move fast. And this starts to shift into the business side of that CISO, where you need to be able to allow the company to move fast. You saying no is writing that next sentence in your resignation letter. You can't say no these days. You have to be able to enable the business. And then, of course, build something that allows for a self-service model where people can say, okay, I want to implement this. AI can quickly assess whether or not it meets the requirement and say, here's what you need to do to get that approved. And if it's fairly new, then this is another path that you need to take it through to get that assessment. So that's the AI governance side. And what I'm starting to see more on the cyber side, given the whole open AI and Hugging Face, I'm starting to look at building our own incident risk and getting our own hardware internally as a backup, using open weight models, because some of the things that we've learned from the Hugging Face is even with the frontier models, they were still hitting up against the guardrail in order to perform those risk analysis to be able to make decisions. And so they reverted back to their own internal systems and then implemented open weight models so that they can work fast to be able to determine what was going on in their environment. So we're going to start to see a lot more revisiting of our tech stack. The things that we're implementing, is it going to meet the requirements for us to monitor and react to this new world that we live in? So AI governance and cybersecurity tech stack revisit.
I like
Great.
your
Thank
comment,
you.
Randy. The CISO job desk cannot say no, so have to say yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So just kind of extending into that question. So what are you, like, since most of the vendors, I know, as Partha, you mentioned you have so many vendors, like even in firewall itself, looks like you're using every firewall available there. So now, so what kind of, what are you asking for your third-party due diligence, which you're not asking a year ago, because assuming that all the vendors are embedding these agents in their products?
So yes. So right now, any new product comes in, it also goes through an AI governance committee review, which
Yeah.
is kind of an old school approach. It is like most of the manual thing, and you do some checks and balances. But bottom line, we are relying on our scanning tools and engine in real time and near real time. And again, going by what we are building in security is that the NIST thing, right? Identify, detect, protect, respond, and governance right now in 2.0. So we are focusing more into respond and recovery, because assuming if a company with $5 billion cybersecurity budget can be breached twice or three times in 5 years and in news, then like we spend, I mean, I'm not going to disclose how much we spend, any company is susceptible to it. I mean, it is not about just the technology, and it is not about the budget people are pouring in. Again, a lot of the things is embedded into the business complexity because of the fear of impact. I mean, knowingly something malicious could happen, you are just, you cannot touch it, you cannot block it, right? You cannot stop the business from going to production. So that is why, like, eventually we continue all those third party thing. They are also using automated tool, homegrown automation, outside third party vendor supported tools and all. And then we also have AI governance, which is actually a manual thing. Like every month we have those things as the new vendor coming in, part of the process. But on top of it, again, we are spending a lot on respond and recovery in case something bad happens. How quickly we can respond and recover, how can we reduce that dwell time of the bad thing happening in our environment. So that's where we are focusing in. So
Yeah.
assuming
How
there
about
is a
you?
plan for everything.
Thank you. How about Anoop? How are you looking at your vendors uh, in terms of due diligence on assuming they are all using agents?
Okay, in my view, there are three new questions what we ask or what our customers ask us. One is what AI model you are using, which version, and what is your end of life plan. So if the model get deprecated or if the model get suspended. And the second one is what actions can your embedded agent take without explicit human approval. So that's the second part. And the third one is where does my data go during the agent reasoning? So it is not just where the data is stored. It's more about while the agent is processing, where does it go? So these are the mainly three questions which we ask or which is included in every third-party due diligence part now. So this is what I see in the last 1 year or 2 years. This has been there everywhere.
Thank you, Anoop. How about Makrand? What question do you get asked? I mean, from your customers,
Yeah.
flipping the question
I think
from the other
I was
side.
going to react to Randolph's point. He talked about open models. And in fact, I had a question of my own to Anoop and to Partha, like, about open models. Like, do you guys see comfortable using, let's say, Chinese models or any other open models? Do you have a way to validate that they're behaving a certain way? What are your thoughts there? What do you see there? Because our business depends upon open models being adopted freely, and I'm a firm believer of the value that they bring. I just want to hear though, what's the CISO take there?
Okay, so I'll take it first. So, like, in Jiffy, we don't use open models, or we use, we have strict regulation that we use models which are available only in Amazon Bedrock. So, because we are completely hosted on, AWS. So that also, like, mostly since most of the customers are from US and Europe, we insist that the models originally from US is being used. So open models we don't use, and if at all, there are some cases where where we use small models, in some internal purposes and all. That also we run it in AWS SageMaker or somewhere. So it's not like we don't we don't try to consume it from outside of AWS. So that's what we do.
Same thing here as well. So we are keeping an eye for our innovation and sandboxing environment, but not embedded in our products, because our products are built for all the banking customers. They have strict regulation, and mostly the models are US companies and US born, which is embedded in the product that we sell.
Sure. Thank you. How about like anyone else wants to provide their perspectives when you're dealing with your vendors, and anyone else in the audience? Randy or Vishwas Manral is here. Vishwas, it'll be good to hear your perspectives also, what your customers are asking you, because since you're with your solutions. You're on mute if you wanna. Looks like Vishwas is just listening. So anyway, yeah, Randy.
Precisely listening to this conversation.
Yeah, I think he got hypnotized. Looks like.
Yeah, as far as and they start saying that they have AI embedded, the question is whether it's bolted on or if it's AI native. But more importantly, and I'll finish up because I just see Vishwas now on. I highly leverage the CISO community as much as possible, reach out to those and see if they had experience working with any of the companies. Why do they like it? Do they not like it? And try to get some feedback that way.
Thank you. Looks like Vishwas turned on his phone, so he's not really sleeping. Vishwas?
No, I was just hearing, but I didn't know how to. I mean, because it's on the phone, I wasn't able to, unmute myself. Sorry, it took a bit of time. I don't have, much to add. I think I agree with all these things that have been talked about. I think a couple of points that I was hearing about, right? One was AI being unreliable. How do you build reliable systems? That's not unique, right? We have had unreliable databases, and we've built reliable databases by sort of either having distributed systems, and then on top of that we still have an SRE or somebody who's actually managing the database, right? That's how we look at it. And I see with AI we could still do reliable, that's how we could build some reliability into an AI system, right? By sort of either having multiple different AIs or AI checking each other, but then on top of that we actually have a more reliable system. I think the next question was about open models and hosted models. Yes, we've had, when we talk to customers, they do want to know whether we're using open models or frontier models and so on. For most parts, for internal uses, because we heavily use a lot of AI. For internal uses like code generation, we do sometimes use proprietary models, but we make sure we are checking all the code that's sort of generated. But for customer facing use cases, we are only using sort of hosted models, from I think the larger vendors. That's how we are using.
I think we're almost coming to the last few points. I know we can continue to go on because it's pretty fascinating subject and number of topics. So if you were, so the last question I would like to pose is, if if a CISO is starting from zero on like AI agent security, so what are the first three things you would tell them to do in the next 3 days? Whoever wants, whether Makrand, Partha, or Anoop, then anyone else take on it.
I would start with visibility, like knowing what the agents are doing, where the API calls are going, what data they're accessing. That would be the first thing, because like somebody said, without visibility, there is no governance.
Yeah, to layer it up, for me, it's like validating the intent and validating the action. So again, visibility is important, what it is doing. So I know it's supposed to do this, but is it really interpreting? There was a good example. I was reading a LinkedIn article, and where there was an example given. An agent was executing something for the firewall automation and cleanup space. And in the Confluence, there was some out of context things written, which was like, okay, open up something 0000, and it basically read it out of context, misinterpretation, implemented thing, and it was a global issue. Like everything was open up for half an hour till it was detected. So validating the intent and validating the action will be most important.
And how about Anoop?
Yeah. So for me, the first thing is the AI inventory. So like I would say like build your own AI inventory. And the second one is apply zero trust to non-human identities.
Yeah.
So, I treat AI agent or AI as as an external contractor. So the way I treat an external contractor, the same way I treat an AI agent, like the same way, the same principles. So apply zero trust is so important for me. And the third thing is put a human in the loop for every consequential access. So it's not easy, or it may slow down the entire process, but at least to start with, we need to have human involvement. So these are my three takes.
Randy, you wanted to add, I think, the cost side of the thing, which is where I think Makrand has been focusing a lot
it's
on.
a great topic. We can talk another hour about that.
No, I just read up on, I think it was AWS and the runaway token consumption. Cost, I think, over $1 million. And then we hear all those stories beforehand, and that weighs into that business decision on, is there an opportunity for us to weigh in and saying, look, this AI is great, but does it really justify considering the amount of money we're looking to spend, or should we just leverage the existing commercial tool and leave it as is, or the current resource? I think we are starting to see a lot more of that conversation as part of that whole review process and adopting AI or in certain functions.
All right, Andy.
Well,
thank
this
you so
cost
much.
is now a new denial of service potentially, right? One wrong prompt consumes their entire budget, and that's anyways. Yeah, we can talk a lot about this.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone has any questions or any insights you want to share? Last call. All right. Otherwise, I'd like to thank everyone, Makrand, Partha, all the way from there, East Coast, and obviously Anoop from, well, yeah, it's your morning time now. You're awake anyway. So, Randy, Manish, Siddharth, Hiram, Vishwas, Shapur, Nima, Bhargav, Santu, Shankar, Sarang, Apur, Reena, Hemant, and Henriette, as well as someone in the phone number. I think it's Kavita. Thank you, everyone. Really appreciate, and we look forward to. Please feel free to connect with each other and network. That's one of the ideas in LinkedIn, etc. And we'll see you in the next month for our next roundtable.